The WZPP, the new 96.1 FM.
Yo, it's Shaggy. It's Voice of Caribbean. 102.1 Shaggy on the dial. You can well, I'm going to go down here. Yeah.
The voice of the Caribbean. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yes, everybody, welcome back. It's Suzette Speaks live on your radio dial. I've missed you. I told you I've been traveling. Unfortunately, I had some deaths in the family, but I'm back and ready to talk to you, talk with you. Of course, if you want to reach out to me right now at the station, you can call me 850-446-0562. This is Suzette Speaks live. I come on every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Of course, you can check us out on all our new dials, 96.1 FM, 92.7 FM, of course, 94.3 FM, Miami, what's up? And we are also available by app. So you can get us on the App Store. Voice of the Caribbean, yes, is an app, or you can go to voiceofthecaribbean.com to make sure you can take us everywhere you go. Of course, I am a lady lawyer. I'm an attorney by training. If you're brand new here, welcome. Yes, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica, but raised here in South Florida. Call myself the best of both worlds. I'm also a community builder, community activist. I really do care about what goes on in our community. So you will see that reflected in this show. And of course, I want to bring you news you can use. What is going on as far as social media, as far as news, and trying to update you and keep the community informed is what we do here on Voice of the Caribbean. So I'm here. Big up Mikey Mike, Miss Chin, Young Trini had y'all rocking. Don't worry, we'll be back after my show to the music with Lisa B. And right now I've been talking about what we've seen as effects from the tariffs that have been announced by President Trump. Of course, we had a deep dive conversation about what is a tariff. So I know many of you already know, but a tariff is an import tax placed on goods that are coming into the United States. However, unlike what Mr. Trump has been saying to himself and saying to you and I, tariffs are not paid by the country that is importing the good. I'll say it again. A tariff is not paid by the country that is importing the good. Tariffs, the import taxes are paid by the businesses and then passed along to the consumers, we the people, after the good get to the United States. So if you believe or you have been misled, like some people I know, even in leadership, to think that tariffs are paid by that country, the people that are selling the good, that's not true. You can look it up and you can listen to actual economists that try to give us the information as fact. Tariffs are going to impact what you and I pay for the goods once they get here. The import tax is paid by the companies, the American companies that are buying the product, right? Because it makes it more costly for them to bring them into the country. And then those companies in turn often pass along those costs to the people who are what we call consuming, the buyers, me, you, everyone who purchases things in this country. So Mr. Trump announced sweeping tariffs on almost every nation. There are people that noticed that one or two places like Russia was left off the list. I wonder why. But as a result of this announcement, we have seen a monumental drop, a steep decline, the fall of major stock indexes, or they call indices, Major stock markets here in the United States have been falling. And most people, if you do have some sort of retirement account, you know that those retirement accounts are invested in companies listed on the stock market. So when companies in the United States do well on Wall Street, many of us on Main Street, everyday working people, we don't own necessarily these large corporations, but we own a little piece of them through the stocks that we own. So if you, like many Americans who own stocks, have been watching the stock market since Mr. Trump's announcement, you have seen the stock markets here in the United States react very negatively. And there have been some huge slides in the values. So the pain continues today. On Friday, which again is the day after Mr. Trump announced these tariffs, he had been threatening. And here we see now, as a reaction, The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell more than 1,400 points today. That's 3.4% of its total value. And yesterday, that is compounded by what it lost yesterday. On Thursday, there was a 1,700 point sell-off, which was a 4% decrease. So the tech-heavy NASDAQ, which is a lot of stocks that are made up of tech company stocks, the NASDAQ, and what we call the benchmark S&P 500, which is an average index of a lot of different types of companies on average. And the S&P 500, tracks the largest U.S. companies, also continue to tumble. Both fell more than 4% as of this morning, as of Friday morning. Trump shocked businesses and investors and global trading partners on Wednesday when he announced that his long-promised tariffs would affect almost all U.S. imports. If we don't make it right now, it probably has a tariff attached to it. And we in the United States are not a manufacturing giant anymore. We have become a services more led economy, not a manufacturing economy. And it is going to take years, be clear. Like, you can't just pop up and start making your own clothes and making all the other stuff, the toys and the phones and things that we are used to having as a part of our everyday modern life. Most of those things are not made in the United States, guys. Right? They're made overseas and then shipped here, imported here. But now they will be taxed. And I want to remind you, those taxes are not paid by the company selling, the country selling the good. Those taxes are paid by the importer, the American company. And it is a cost to that American business. So everywhere we shop that gets goods, which is just about everything that sells a good, all companies that sell a good, most of those goods, some of them, if not a good amount of them, will come from overseas markets. So instead of those companies now just seeing higher costs and not knowing how they're going to pay for it, they oftentimes have to raise their prices for you and I that buy these goods in order to cover the cost of the good, the increase of the tax. So Mr. Trump, when he imposed the taxes on the U.S. allies, that's our friends as well as our foes, it really surprised many people. Most U.S. imports will now face tariffs of at least 10%, with higher tariffs on goods from Europe, the European Union, Japan, which is a manufacturing giant, think all kinds of goods, cars, etc., China, and dozens of other countries. This is what has been happening. I'm looking at my stocks, they're falling. This global trade war that Mr. Trump has created has been intensifying. And just today, here on Friday, China responded to Trump's taxes with a reciprocal, meaning they do unto others as we are doing to them. They are going to give us back the same amount that we were not put on their goods. China just announced a reciprocal 34% tariff on all U.S. imports. And other countries, according to the NPR, are likely to retaliate as well. Now, economists say this has been creating a lot of shock and anger, and warns that these new taxes will result in higher prices for Americans and slower growth in the United States. Let's be clear again. Who pays tariffs? Not the country selling it, not the country of origin, not the country it's from. It's the American businesses that pay the tariff, the import tax. And they oftentimes then must pass it along to the buyers, the everyday consumers, as we're called. We're citizens. I love citizens. I don't like consumer as a word. But it is what we do. It is a part of what drives the global economy, Americans buying things. So we're going to see what continues to happen. JP Morgan Chase is reporting that these tariffs that Trump has imposed are likely to push the United States and the world into a recession. Why would you be doing this? Is what I keep asking. And his theory, Mr. Trump's theory, is that somehow this is going to bring back manufacturing to the United States, because if it's more expensive for other countries to bring their goods in, then we somehow will see an increase of people investing here in the United States. But that takes time, and that also takes some money. We're talking years. So what happens in the meantime? Do we see prices go up? Well, according to most economists, yes. The egg prices that many people have voted for, in terms of why they voted for Donald Trump, wanting to see those things decrease, it's going to go up across the board. We're going to see it in the next several weeks if these tariffs are to remain in place, and it seems like they will. According to NPR, consumer spending is already down. I'm buying less, I know that. It's slowing down while consumer confidence has plummeted. And even as reassuring as the jobs report, they said there has been more jobs created in our economy. Even I can't understand how that happens to be true. I guess more has been created, but I know we lost a ton with all the Doge firings. Elon Musk going from agency, United States government agency to agency, firing people, tens of thousands of people, right? From the Veterans Administration, tens of thousands of people fired there. Veterans will get less services. So Social Security Administration, people fired there. The Center for Disease Control, the people that protect us in terms of when diseases spread, not only here in the United States, but across the world, people that study that institutional knowledge of 10, 20, 30 years of working in the same place, having a good understanding of what happens in terms of trends, etc., those people gone. Food and Drug Administration, the people that protect what goes in front of us in terms of our dinner plate and what people can sell us, fired. How will the American people be impacted when it comes to these tariffs? Well, we're going to see. We see what already is happening in the stock market. They said, according to the jobs report, this is good news, with employers adding more jobs than expected last month. I guess that was supposed to be exciting news, but it couldn't quiet what everybody really is focused on. The widespread market fears when it comes to these tariffs and the outlook for this post-tariff, this new tariff economy is what people are more worried about. Are you worried about tariffs? You can give me a call, 850-446-0562. Get you right in touch. Any show, actually, here at Voice of the Caribbean, 850-446-0562. Suzette Speaks, talking about news you can use. We're going to talk about what is happening in the Florida legislature. I had to bring this to your attention. We were just talking before the break about how children have been protected by the United States government, D.C., Washington, D.C. law since 1938. Because before that, there were no child labor laws. Kids were being exploited, used in very dangerous jobs, used in very dangerous factory work, building buildings on high rises, doing welding, working with steels, no limitation on when they can work, how long they could work. We've been there. We've done that in the United States. That used to be true. What used to happen in the United States before 1938, we don't teach, okay? Because we are taking history out of the history books. Remember that. So many people don't know this history, how the world was before there were laws protecting our youth, protecting workers in general. But we used to see the trend where states added protection for young people in their state of what an employer could or could not do. And right now, the law in Florida is that a child, teenager, high schoolers, some middle school, because 14-year-olds can be in middle school, could not work after 11 o'clock on a school night, could not work more than 4 hours without a break. That's what it is now. But we see a bill traveling through the Florida legislature that you have to be aware of. The Florida House and the Florida Senate, both sponsored, one on the Senate side by a Republican legislator and one on the Florida House side. So before the United States of America's laws from the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 was written to protect and improve working conditions for youth under 18. Instead, now we see, those things that used to happen. You had kids working in, before this law, meat factories, processing meat, working on rooftops, working with dangerous equipment, no regulation on how long they could work, what conditions they could work under. Well, we're seeing the reversal of the trend to protect children here in Florida. Instead of bolstering these protections, right now there is a law being considered here in Florida. Like there have been changes in Arkansas, Jersey, and New Hampshire that will loosen state laws that regulate the employment of minors. Loosen sounds so nice. But Florida Senate Bill 918, you can call your state legislature if you, legislator, if you agree with it or if you disagree with it. You can call them. They work for you. And right now, the Republican Senator Jay Collins, Florida Republican Senator Jay Collins, who represents parts of Tampa, and in the Florida House bill that was introduced by Monique Miller, a Republican from Brevard County, if this bill is passed, it would allow children as young as 14 to work overnight shifts, even on school nights. Right now, current Florida law, like I said, protects minors and prevented them from working past 11 p.m. on a school night. Not anymore. The new law, if passed and signed by Governor DeSantis, which has said he has shown support for this law, the new law would allow employers to schedule kids for more than 30 hours a week. 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds without parental permission being able to be working 40 hours or more a week. They would be allowed to be scheduled during school hours. People are like, well, the kids that work from home, study at home, homeschool kids, well, they're done studying at 12. Why can't they work? Let me tell you, this new law is not designed for every child. And what I mean by that, certain populations are going to be more susceptible to being exploited under such new laws. Listen what I'm telling you. Everybody's children will not be at the factory overnight if this passes, because there are people who are still parenting their kids and protecting kids so that they are not exploited. There are going to be populations that will not be affected by this because their parents, their communities do not believe that their job as a 14-year-old and 15-year-old, literally job, is to be working 40-hour weeks, 50-hour weeks. They should be focused on their studying and their self-development, their personal development, rooting, themselves in a foundation of education and exposure to new ideas and learning. But instead, they want your kid and they want my kid, my future kid, in the name of Jesus, to be focused on working instead of school. Listen what I'm telling you. This new law will allow students to be scheduled during school hours. And they will allow employers not to have to give mandatory breaks. Mandatory breaks are gone. Every 4 hours right now, a child working, a teenager working, an under 18 youth must be given a 15-minute break every 4 hours. This new law would remove mandatory breaks for children. Well, we haven't heard from the bill sponsors, Senator Jay Collins and Representative Monique Miller. But it's very interesting that most people that are opposed to this are talking about how this could be detrimental and quite harmful to the development of education of young people here in Florida. But instead, we were seeing even the governor step forward, and he has indicated his support for this new measure. And it all boils down to, we're going to back up into the immigration discussion. Maybe next week I'll have on attorney Opal Lee. I only practice in myself as an attorney. I only practice in personal injury and medical malpractice. If you have any of those cases, whether you're in a car accident or you're injured of any kind, and if you would like a free consultation, you can call me. Right? Picking an attorney is a serious a choice, and it should not be made solely based on an advertisement. You must do your research, right? However, I really want you to consider, why would the state of Florida want to have its children working instead of being in a school? It's 14-year-olds, it's 15-year-olds, it's 16-year-olds, and 17-year-olds. There are many that speculate that with the targeting of folks who have been undocumented but working, the millions of people that have been in the United States, or those whose immigration status will now come into question, that we see a trend that is trying to fill these type of jobs that undocumented workers have been working, that people who have not had legal status in the United States have been working. We've turned a blind eye to it for decades. But that there seems to be a movement to try to move children into those positions. When I'm thinking about the farm workers and people that pick our fruit and vegetables, the tens of thousands of people here in Florida that are part of the Florida economy, the seasonal migrants, that now will they be replaced by children who can work overnight, children who cannot necessarily speak up for themselves because their brains are not as developed, because they don't have the knowledge of what is right and what is wrong in a workplace, children who are susceptible to being abused physically, mentally, emotionally, even sexually in work environments. We have sexual harassments for adults, but we're going to allow overnight shifts, according to the Florida legislature, if they pass this law, overnight shifts for children to be working more than 30 hours a week, to be working during school hours. All of this will be legal if this passes and Ron DeSantis signs it. We need to pay attention. Again, you can reach out to your state House representative member. You can reach out to your state Senate representative member and tell them how you feel. This is crazy stuff, y'all. Tell them how you feel. Write them. Call them, if you please. And let them know whether you agree with this. But guess what? In the state legislature, just like in the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate, it's controlled by Republicans on a supermajority. In Florida, it's a supermajority, meaning if the Democrats don't even show up for work, the Republicans can still pass bills. So you have a Republican-controlled House in Florida, Republican-controlled Senate, and a Republican governor. If they want to, they will pass this. You hear what I'm saying? So we got to continue to pay attention. I know everybody is tired and they don't want to speak up. Write the governor. They don't have to, but you can if you choose to. Pay attention. There's so much still happening. I know we still want it to rest and relax and look the other way. It's too much going on. There's some other bills I want to bring to your attention, but I'm almost out of time. You guys know you can catch me, the Suzette Speaks Show, live every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. The Suzette Speaks Show live, once again, every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. I'm here live. You can listen to us, 96.1 FM, 92.7 FM. What's up? 94.3 in Miami. All over South Florida. We're here to serve you and keep you informed. I appreciate all my listeners. I've missed you, so don't worry. I'm back to my regularly scheduled program indeed. Thank you so much for checking me out. And I will be back next week. Don't go nowhere. Lots more after this.